Welcome to the 2021 Justice for Women, Courage is Contagious Award presentation. I'm Lee Softly, Dean of the University of Maine School of Law. I have the honor today of introducing you to two women of courage, Blanca Santiago, our 2020 award recipient, and Donna Loring, our 2021 award recipient. The Justice for Women Courage is Contagious Award is presented annually to an outstanding woman leader who demonstrates a commitment to raising awareness in Maine about the injustices that women and girls have faced globally and locally. The arrival of the global pandemic prevented us from delivering a well-deserved Courage is Contagious Award to the 2020 recipient, Blanca Santiago, and we are so pleased that she's been patient with us to return this year. Also with us this afternoon is the 2021 awardee, Donna Loring. I'm so grateful to both of them for their time here today and their inspiring work through the years. Each of our award recipients for 2020 and 2021 has created a lasting impact in our community through her time, work, talent, and resources. You're about to hear about each of these outstanding women and how they embody this award. To get us started, I'm delighted to introduce Kathy Lee, who you heard about earlier. The Justice for Women lecture series owes its origin and its vitality to Kathy. Through her vision and tireless efforts, Maine Law has the privilege each year to host a distinguished speaker who engages the Maine community in the global conversation about justice for women and girls. Kathy will be presenting our first award today. Kathy.
Thank you, Dean, for that lovely introduction. I am so excited to present the 2020 Courage is Contagious Award to my dear friend, Blanca Santiago. We were all set to present this award last year to Blanca, surrounded by her community at our lecture when the pandemic forced us to cancel everything at the last minute. But we're very proud to have the opportunity to recognize her now. Blanca is a licensed clinical social worker with a part-time private practice that provides accessible and affordable mental health services to BIPOC, LGBTQIA individuals, and others experiencing the effects of structural and societal oppression. Blanca retired last year after a long and successful career as a family resource specialist in the Portland Public Schools, and now contracts with the district to help address issues of diversity and equity in our schools. She supports a new generation of BIPOC social workers and is a consultant to Presente via Mano en Mano. In that capacity, Blanca supports the behavioral health staff that serve Latinx and immigrant communities in Maine. She serves on the board of the Immigrant Legal Advocacy Project and the Foundation for Portland Public Schools. She is the founding member and president of El Centro Latino of Maine and has worked on 3 immigration reform campaigns over the last 15 years. Blanca was conferred her Master of Social Work degree at the age of 60 from the University of New England School of Social Work and was awarded her undergraduate degree in organizational leadership just before turning 50. She is the proud mother of 2 men and a woman and abuela to 2 out and proud grandchildren. It is with deep feeling that I recognize Blanca for everything she has done for so long for Maine's Latinx community and for all of Maine. Thank you, Blanca.
Thank you, Kathy. Thank you. I want to thank you, Kathy, for this honor, and also the UMaine School of Law for this recognition. And of course, congratulate Donna Loring on being the 2021 Courage is Contagious Award recipient. We must all be brave and courageous in a year marked with unprecedented challenges, a contentious political climate, the murder of George Floyd, and so many other senseless deaths in our non-white communities. not to mention a silent but deadly pandemic. It's no wonder we all feel the enormity of what it is to be courageous. My mom, a courageous woman who was born in poverty on the island of Puerto Rico, died an early death at age 62 and never realized her full potential. I would like to think that she would be proud of me, but I know all she ever wanted from me was not recognition, but happiness. Awards are given to people who have made it to the point of self actualization, to such a degree that they are recognized by others. I must stop and think about how that sounds. So much courage all around me that is not recognized by others. I think of Maria, not her real name, the young immigrant mother of three small school-age children who's not literate in her native language, but would take her children to the library nearly every week, often walking in the cold with three little ones, so that her sacrifice in coming here would not be in vain. Her children are readers today. She is courageous. I think about the women who have been exploited, who have faced down domestic violence, poverty, and language barriers in order to give their children a better life. And I think of my own struggles, how my mother before me faced down the same storms without the same access or tools that she was able to put within my reach. There are justice warriors in my midst. Crystal Cron, the young woman who wakes up every day to build a movement that recognizes that only the people can save themselves. Presente Maine is your courageous heart in action, Crystal. Rosie DeBella, whose limitless potential drives her to build connections across communities through her work at Mano and Mano. Betsy, Juliana, Twee, Monique, Josephine, and the other parent community specialists at Portland Public Schools Multilingual Center, whose commitment and dedication in engaging with immigrant families to ensure their children have equal access to education is courageous. Their fearless leader and my shiro, Dr. Grace Valenzuela, built Make It Happen at Portland Public Schools from the ground up to become the nationally recognized model it is today. The obstacles are so many and the systems often unyielding. We do it anyway. Even without recognition, we do it anyway. Even if we're made invisible, our efforts never recognized, we do it anyway. That is what it is to be courageous. Our BIPOC communities struggle under the weight of policies that threaten our very existence and right to happiness. We need heroes, champions, justice warriors, and to feel that we all belong and are worthy. In El Salvador, water warriors are at work demanding a basic human right to clean water. On our southern border, activists are calling attention to the detention of children, infants, and youth that are being held in inhumane conditions. I think of Anna, a woman I first met when she was 16 years old, and how she has held people to freedom and safety at our borders. People are safe today because of you, Anna. Thank you for your courage. Think of my own daughter, whose battle with systemic oppression is far from over, but she just keeps getting up and doing it anyway. She would never say she's courageous. You are courageous, baby girl. Small and big acts of courage are happening every day with or without recognition. Who am I not to be courageous? Who are we not to be courageous? Is it even a choice when you see the need for education, food, water, clean air, peace in our homes, healthy bodies? Everywhere there is courage we do not notice and that no one recognizes with an award. I didn't expect this award, and now with over a year gone by, the original shock of being a recipient has been replaced with a desire to share it because I never was brave all by myself. The Courage is Contagious Award came at a time in my career that was marked by my retirement from Portland Public Schools to private therapy practice and a new role as a consultant. In some ways, it felt like a recognition of the work I've done all my life. Finally, right? But the more I thought about it, it was more about my mother's work in helping me stand up against bullies when I was 8 years old, and helping me escape domestic violence at the hands of my ex-husband when I was 22. My mother and all the mothers who, without seeking recognition, helped fight battles like these with no tools, little to no positional power or recognition of effort. And that's the face of courage I see when I see Crystal, Rosie, Laura, Betsy, Elba, Berta, Paula, Teresa, Stephanie, Anna, Rachel, and all the young mothers, grandmothers, sisters, and aunts who tend to the children, the sick, the dying, and those in need. People whose very lives are courageous. I see your courage and accept this award today for all of the unseen, invisible people whose acts of courage are not easily seen or recognized as courageous. This award is ours. We are courageous. Thank you.
Thank you, Blanca. That was so beautifully said. And thank you for your patience. It shouldn't take a year for us to present these awards, but a pandemic is a challenging impediment. And it's now my honor and privilege to present the 2021 Courage is Contagious Award to Donna M. Loring. I have admired and respected Donna for years. She's had an amazing career, and she's been a role model for so many people as we've had the opportunity to watch her advocate for true justice in an unflinching and dignified fashion throughout her career. Before Donna was 20 years old, she joined the U.S. Army's Women's Army Corps and headed for Vietnam. Given her skills, it will come as no surprise that she trained as a communications specialist, processing all of the casualty reports for Southeast Asia. She was one of the few enlisted women in the Vietnam War who served in a combat zone. On her return from Vietnam, she entered and graduated from the Maine Criminal Justice Academy, which opened the door to law enforcement, including the Penobscot County Sheriff's Office. Donna ultimately became the first female chief of police for the Penobscot Nation. She's been a long-serving and prominent advocate for tribal justice in Maine. Donna is an elder and a formal council member of the Penobscot Indian Nation. For over a decade, she was the nation's representative to the Maine state legislature. She was appointed aide-de-camp to former Governor Angus King, and she has recently served as the senior advisor on tribal affairs to Governor Janet Mills. Along the way, Donna has excelled as an author and a poet. She wrote In the Shadow of the Eagle, a tribal representative in Maine, from which I learned a lot as a young attorney. Donna now hosts Wabanaki Windows, a monthly show on WERU radio. The University of New England houses her papers and sponsors an annual lecture series in her name. She was awarded an honorary doctorate degree in humane letters by the University of Maine and the Alumni Career Award from the University of Maine Alumni Association. But more than all of this, Donna is a woman who has earned the deep respect and affection of so many in Maine. She is funny, kind, and compassionate, all the while holding firmly and directly to the values that make her who she is. We should all aspire to be like Donna Loring. Congratulations, Donna.
Thank you, Dean Softly and Maine Law School, for recognizing my work with the Courage is Contagious Award. We are living in an interesting time for Indigenous peoples of the world. Time stands still. What we said 20, 30, or 100 years ago, we could say today with the same relevance. I've been thinking about the theme of the award. It takes me back to my ancestors who exhibited tremendous courage in protecting our land, demonstrated by the contagious courage of our clan mothers in their guidance and wisdom over the centuries. My thoughts go back to April 15th, 2008, on the floor of the Maine House, when I sponsored a resolution in support of the United Nations resolution recognizing the rights of Indigenous peoples. I want to share with you my words to that body in support of its passage. I address the House as follows, quote, I bring before you this resolution to support the rights of Indigenous peoples all over the world. As many of you know, the United Nations approved this resolution on September 13th, 2006. The vote was 143 in favor and 4 against. The 4 countries against were the United States, Canada, Australia, and New Zealand, all countries of colonization. The white government of Australia issued an apology to the land's Indigenous peoples, but did not vote to adopt the declaration as yet. The Canadian Parliament reversed its vote and voted in favor, 148 to 114, on Wednesday, April 9th, 2008. One wonders what moral authority we have to chastise China on its human rights when we have voted against rights for our own Indigenous peoples. When I was trying to think of what to say to this legislative body, I realized that I should have no problem speaking on behalf of Indigenous people of the world. After all, I am one. I come from a long line of Indigenous people who've been badly treated by the majority governments, both federal and state. I come from a people who have lost their lands, their rights, their religion to the majority culture. I come from a people who have fought and died to protect this country. And I come from a people who are the very essence of this country. In 2002, I had the opportunity to travel to Chile with other legislators from all over the United States. We visited the city of Temuco, 2 hours south of Santiago by air. We stayed 2 days in Temuco and visited the city council. They were proud of the social programs the state had made available to the Mapuche. The Mapuche are Indigenous people of Chile, and they were the only people who were never conquered by the Spanish invaders. I asked how many Mapuche were on the council or on any committees. They looked at each other with surprise and said to me, none. I had the same experience when we met with the town council in a small town just outside the city. We then drove into the bush to visit 2 Mapuche villages. I will never forget that experience. Because we were VIPs, we were welcomed in a joint ceremony by the 2 villages. 2 Machi medicine women greeted us. They were surrounded by government officials who were very proud to tell us that government programs were improving the lives of these helpless people, and they wanted us to know that these people weren't really lazy, they really wanted to work. Each government official spoke very condescendingly about the Mapuche, how he or she provided them with what they needed, and this with Mapuche standing there listening with their heads down. I had been asked to speak before arriving at the village, but I had said no because I was not prepared. After hearing these officials speak, I went to our group leader and told her that I now wanted to speak, but only as a member of the Penobscot Nation, not as a legislator. I asked to speak after the head Machi spoke. She was to speak last. She spoke only Mapuche, and her speech was translated into Spanish, then English. I was not sure what I was about to say would insult her, but I felt I had to say something. As I spoke, I watched the expression on her face and still couldn't tell. I said the following: I'm a Native American, a member of the Penobscot Indian Nation from the state of Maine in the United States. We have clan mothers much like your Machi, and they take care of our communities. I wish to give you a message from my people. Never let your spirits be abused. Never give up your language. Never give up your culture. Be proud of who you are. Stay true to your beliefs, and you will win. You could have heard a pin drop. I did not expect any words from the head Machi, but she turned to me and said, "Thank you for coming all this distance, and thank you for your words. I hope that in some way you can help us save our culture." The translator came to me later and said, there is something he did not translate, and that is that she sends the spirits to be with you on your journey home. He said the reason he didn't translate was because the Spanish would have considered that a non-Christian thing to say. Indigenous peoples all over the world are in need of their freedom, including religious freedom and the right to be treated equally as human beings. The Mapuche are also trying to protect their lands against the corporations that are moving in and taking their lands illegally. On our way to the village, we saw a funeral procession. There were many angry people crying and shouting as they carried a wooden coffin down the middle of the street. We found out later that it was the body of a young Mapuche man who was 19 years old, who had been shot by the Chilean police as he protested the taking of his people's land. Medicine women told our delegation this. The government officials wouldn't talk about it. That was just one incident we happened to find out about. I wonder what other abuses they suffer daily. I would like in some small way to help the Mapuche and all the indigenous peoples around the world. Perhaps this vote, which I believe will be the first vote by a US state in support of the United Nations resolution, will be a first step in order that all nations around the world support the rights of indigenous peoples. The United States of America has always stood for freedom and democracy. Many of us have fought and died for those rights. It is unconscionable that the United States voted against the rights of indigenous peoples. I ask you to support the rights of indigenous peoples here in Maine and throughout the world. The resolution was passed in the Maine House and Senate unanimously under the hammer. 2 years after the state of Maine passed the UNDRIP resolution, the US voted to support it with certain conditions. Much work remains to be done, starting here in Maine. It is my firm belief that human rights, equal rights, and sovereign rights cannot be separated. The world cannot be at peace or thrive until these rights are recognized. We need the courage of our clan mothers and strong women leaders. We need this courage to be contagious all over the world now more than ever. Thank you.
Hello, this is Governor Janet Mills. It's a great honor to join you virtually today in recognition of my good friend Donna Loring as she receives the Courage is Contagious Award. As a Vietnam veteran, as a former police chief, state representative, nonprofit leader, and Penobscot Tribal Council member, Donna Loring has served her country, her state, her community, and the Penobscot Nation all her life. As tribal advisor and liaison to this governor, first in recent history, Donna Loring was a highly valued member of my administration, helping to forge progress in tribal relations in significant areas, including prohibiting Native American mascots, establishing Indigenous Peoples Day, reinvigorating the Maine Indian Tribal State Commission, and implementing the most stringent water quality standards in the country in order to protect sustenance fishing. Crafting the very complicated legislation as well to provide for tribal court jurisdiction for the prosecution of non-tribal members for acts of domestic violence against tribal members. Donna Loring's expertise was also critical in addressing another challenge the tribes in the state of Maine share, the growing threat of climate change. Her leadership, by word, by deed, and by example, have been instrumental in coordinating tribal state communications and partnerships in combating this common threat. I have pledged that my administration will work to prevent and mitigate climate change at every turn, helping all communities become resilient to the devastating effects of our changing climate, and to ensure that our children and grandchildren will enjoy, as we do, Maine's unsurpassed bounty and beauty. So together with the legislature last year, I enacted bipartisan legislation that created the Maine Climate Council, an assembly of scientists, industry leaders, bipartisan local and state elected officials, and engaged citizens to develop a plan to reduce carbon emissions and achieve carbon neutrality in Maine by 2045. Donna Loring ensured that voices of other tribal members, including Ambassador Moyandena of the Penobscot Nation, were heard in that council, and she insisted at every step that the state focus on those communities that are often left behind through the new Equity Subcommittee of the Maine Climate Council. The contributions of our tribes are important to our efforts to preserve and protect our Earth from the threat of climate change for generations to come. Donna Loring and I also served in the legislature together for, I think, 3 terms. Our discussions in the Judiciary Committee were often energetic, to say the least. She was always an able advocate on a number of issues, always well-informed, and often she brought new light to old issues. We did not always agree, but she was always civil, and I have come to value our relationship on so many levels. We can always talk. I would say she and I have straightened more fences than we have leaned on, that we have repaired more fences than we have damaged, and broken none. Dawn, I am truly grateful for your guidance and long friendship. You've given me plenty of advice. I haven't always taken it, but I do value your counsel, and I will continue to seek it. You should be proud of the contributions you have made to bring the state and Maine's tribal nations closer together. As a trusted voice for Maine's Native people, I know you'll continue to advocate on issues facing Maine's tribes, including access to clean water and clean air, and transitioning to a clean energy future that creates good-paying jobs. I look forward to continuing to achieve progress on those issues together. Thank you for your hard work, wise counsel, and service to the people of Maine. And congratulations on this well-deserved honor, my friend.
Thank you for joining us to honor these amazing, courageous women who, as you can see, continue to act, to inspire, to lead, and to contribute so much, not only to their own communities, but to all of us in the state of Maine. I want to thank all of you also for supporting Justice for Women. This program started 10 years ago, and with your continued support, will continue in perpetuity. Good night, everyone.